Going on from my last video about how many guppies you can keep in a tank of any size, I thought I'd do one just about keeping males together. Now, keeping male guppies together is different than keeping mixed sex together or just females. You'll get very few fights with females once they're all settled in a tank together, and they all get on, but males are different. You do have to keep quite a few males in the tank if you have them that seem to posture a lot. I have, when I first set this tank, lost a few males because they were fighting. I had to remove those males and put them in with females, and now they seem to have calmed down a little bit, although I do believe one of the males was responsible for the death of two of my females. They both got dropsy, which I sometimes find is a problem females have when they're stressed by a male. So I am keeping an eye on him. I have kept male guppies together in groups of 4 or 5 in quite small tanks, and they've been fine. Lots of plants for them to hide in, and they don't seem to bother. But occasionally you do get a group that can be a bit more aggressive. I do find my yellow guppies are a lot more aggressive than the other colours I have. I don't know why. Most of the others are quite social. They will posture to each other, but they'll swim about and give up after a while. But my yellow guppies, once they've got their heart set on having a fight with someone, they are going to carry on and on no matter what. And so that can be a bit of a problem, especially if all you've got is a small tank. But for the most part, male guppies do seem to get on quite well. I've had these in my tank. I did lose 4, I think, to fights, and I do have quite a lot of them in here. They're waiting for lunch, and I have had problems with this tank on and off with different things. I thought that they had worms, and I've gone through several things that I thought might have been wrong with this tank, but I seem to think that I bought a couple of little cories from my local pet shop, and that's a disaster because they are terrible. I lost one almost straight away, and the other one seemed okay, but it's not been putting on any weight. In fact, it got smaller, so I think it had wasting disease. And I took it out the tank yesterday, and it died about 12 hours later. Oh, it was in a terrible state. You know, I'd seen it bobbing about the tank, and it always seemed to be eating and everything, but it just wasn't thriving at all. So I wasn't sure whether it did have worms, and that it did bring something like that to this tank. Since I use the Ken's flakes for internal parasites, I've had no problems. I moved a couple of the very thin males to my little tank, and I've managed to get them to put on weight, all but one. But he wasn't from this tank, he was from the big tank, and he was very old as well, so he died yesterday. Old age again. I don't know if you can see him, but I did put my big snail in here. This is where his home was supposed to be. Of course, he's not being bothered by the young ones. He's right down under the filter. He kind of loves it in here. I didn't want to put him in here straight away because, you know, when you lose a snail in a tank and it dies, it's a bit smelly trying to find them. So I think he's been in the other tank 2-3 weeks, and he seems okay. So with male guppies, If you've got some that get on together, then they are fine together without any females. If you do find you have some aggressive guppies, then a lot of tall green plants in the tank so that they can break up the fights is pretty good. You know, sometimes you just get those odd few guppies that are a little bit more aggressive than normal.